America's largest home builder just issued a shocking warning about nationwide market conditions while reporting devastating sales drops across multiple regions. And the hidden data reveals this could be worse than 2008 for one critical reason. Major builders are now spending 13.3% of home prices on desperate buyer incentives, the highest since the 2009 crisis. That's over $53,000 in giveaways on a $400,000 home just to move inventory they can't sell. We're going to walk you through the data that mainstream media isn't connecting because what's happening right now is creating massive opportunities for smart investors while setting devastating traps for the unprepared. After analyzing recent earnings calls, regional market data, and economic indicators from sources including the U.S. Census Bureau, National Association of Homebuilders, and Federal Reserve, we can tell you we're witnessing something that rhymes with 2008 but has its own dangerous characteristics. Let's start with the numbers that should terrify anyone thinking about buying in certain markets. According to Houseo's latest market analysis, Florida's housing inventory has exploded by 22.6% year over year, hitting 467,819 homes for sale statewide. That's enough inventory to supply the market for 5 to 6 months, officially pushing Florida from a seller's market into balanced territory after years of being a seller's paradise. But when you dig into the metro-level data, the picture becomes even more alarming. Orlando's new listings are up 50.6% year over year according to Redfin data. That's the highest increase among major Florida metros. Tampa's new listings jumped 42.5%, while sales dropped 12.5%. Miami-Fort Lauderdale, despite having a median home price of $625,000, is seeing homes sell 6% below list price, with properties sitting on the market for 90 to 97 days on average. Jacksonville's median home price has actually dropped 3.1% year over year to $300,000, as reported by Redfin's housing market data. Now here's where this gets really interesting for investors and potential buyers. The National Association of Homebuilders Housing Market Index hit 32 in June 2025. That's the third lowest reading since 2012, according to CNBC reporting on builder sentiment. The last time we saw numbers this low, we were dealing with the aftermath of the Great Recession. But here's the number that should make every investor pay attention. 30% of builders reported cutting prices in June, the highest percentage since they started tracking this data in 2022. When we analyzed the builder earnings calls from the past quarter, the language was telling. The COO of America's largest home builder specifically mentioned Florida market dynamics changing, while other major builders are implementing what they call shock and awe pricing strategies. These aren't minor adjustments, these are survival tactics. Let me put this in perspective with some hard numbers from authoritative sources. According to Fortune's analysis of the housing market, new home inventory has hit 9.8 months of supply nationwide. That's officially buyer's market territory. The last time we saw inventory levels this high was during the 2008-2009 housing crisis. But here's what makes this different and potentially more dangerous. Builders are trapped in a way they weren't in 2008. The construction industry data from the National Association of Homebuilders reveals that housing starts are at recession levels despite ongoing demand. According to CRE Daily's industry analysis, the construction sector needs 439,000 additional workers in 2025 to meet demand, but 92% of firms report difficulty finding qualified workers. Construction wages are up 4.4% over the past 12 months, according to Chain Store Age, significantly outpacing other industries. Material costs are expected to rise another 5 to 7% in 2025, following a 4.9% increase in 2023, based on Mast's construction cost research. This creates a vicious cycle. Builders have massive carrying costs, elevated construction expenses, and reduced demand due to mortgage rates averaging 6.88% for 30-year fixed loans, according to Bankrate. They literally cannot afford to wait this out like existing homeowners can. Please take 2 seconds to help us out and hit the like and subscribe if you find this video interesting so far. Each like, subscribe, and share helps support this channel and keeps us motivated to keep making you great content. Thank you. Now, let's continue. Now let's talk about the regional patterns, because this isn't happening uniformly across the country, and that's where the opportunities lie. According to the U.S. Census Bureau's latest new residential sales data, new home sales have plummeted across multiple major markets. Phoenix's new home sales dropped 18% year over year, according to Newsweek's analysis, while the city has 27.3% of listings with price cuts and inventory up 39%. Denver is even worse. New home sales fell 22%, with the city leading the nation at 33.7% of listings having price cuts and inventory sitting 88% higher than pre-pandemic levels. Las Vegas tells the same story, with new home sales down 15% year over year, according to Nevada Real Estate, while housing supply jumped 82.8% from last year and 70% more homes sitting without offers. Even markets that held up during the initial correction are now showing cracks. Seattle new home sales dropped 12% in the latest quarter, while Portland saw a 16% decline, according to regional MLS data. Texas markets are showing mixed but concerning signals. Austin new home sales plummeted 25% year over year, according to Fortune's housing market analysis, while the city now has 32.7% of listings with price cuts and inventory up 69.7%. Some properties are seeing price reductions of up to 30%. Dallas-Fort Worth new home sales declined 8%, holding up better than other Texas metros, but San Antonio saw a 19% drop and is predicted to see overall price decline of 1.7% by July 2025. Houston, despite job growth, recorded a 14% decline in new home sales as builders struggle with elevated inventory levels. But here's where smart money is separating itself from scared money. While these Sunbelt markets are correcting, Northeast markets like Boston, Cambridge, Providence, and Hartford are seeing 2 to 7% price growth, according to U.S. News market predictions. Midwest markets like Indianapolis, Grand Rapids, and Cleveland are emerging as new investor favorites with strong fundamentals and reasonable insurance costs. The insurance crisis is accelerating these regional trends in ways most people don't understand. According to base claims analysis of Florida's insurance market, homeowners in the state now pay nearly 5 times the national average for homeowners insurance. CNBC reported that California has seen 8 major carriers leave or limit exposure since 2019, with the State Fair Plan seeing a 137% increase in policies. Louisiana homeowners are looking at 28% premium increases this year, California 21%, according to Bankrate's insurance crisis analysis. This isn't just a Florida problem anymore. The insurance crisis is expanding to Colorado, Texas, Louisiana, and other states. For investors, this means certain markets are becoming uninvestable due to insurance costs alone, but it's also creating opportunities in overlooked markets with stable insurance environments. The demographic data reveals another critical shift that most analysts are missing. According to the Washington Post's analysis of recent buyer trends, baby boomers have become the largest group of home buyers at 42%, up from 31% in 2023. Meanwhile, millennials dropped to 29% from 38%. Here's why this matters for the market. HousingWire reports that 15% of older boomers and 40% of younger boomers are buying with cash, using equity from homes that appreciated 45% over the past 5 years. They're not affected by mortgage rates. Millennials, on the other hand, need financing for 90% of their purchases, according to Yahoo Finance's analysis, and they're getting crushed by both high rates and high prices. First-time buyers now represent only 24% of purchases, down from 32% in 2024. The median age of first-time buyers has risen to 38 years old. It was in the late 20s back in the 80s, according to Fortune's demographic analysis. This demographic shift is creating what economists call a bifurcated market. Cash-heavy boomers competing against financing-dependent younger buyers in an environment where credit is expensive. It's fundamentally changing market dynamics in ways that favor certain property types and locations. Now, is this worse than 2008? The answer is both yes and no, depending on your perspective. According to the Cleveland Fed's comparison of housing booms, we don't have the systematic lending problems that caused 2008. We have strict lending standards, government-issued mortgages, and legitimate supply shortages in many markets. But we do have something potentially more insidious, an affordability crisis combined with builder capitulation happening simultaneously across multiple regions. The Corporate Finance Institute's analysis of the 2008 crisis points out that ninja loans and other predatory lending practices created artificial demand. Today's problem is the opposite. We have real demand that's being choked off by affordability constraints. That creates different opportunities and different risks. For investors with access to cash or private financing, builders' desperation creates immediate opportunities. Those 13.3% incentive packages represent real money off acquisition costs. When builders are buying down mortgage rates, covering closing costs, and throwing in luxury upgrades, that's instant equity for smart buyers. The build-to-rent sector is exploding because so many potential buyers are being priced out. According to JP Morgan's Housing Market Outlook, rental demand remains strong in markets with job growth and manageable insurance costs. If you can acquire properties in these markets, you're positioning for both cash flow and appreciation when rates eventually normalize. Looking ahead, the forward indicators suggest we're in the early stages of a significant market realignment. The largest homebuilder expects sales incentives to remain elevated and increase further during the fourth quarter, according to their recent earnings call. The second largest builder's leadership said there's little evidence to support expectations of materially lower interest rates in the near term in their latest investor presentation. The National Association of Home Builders is forecasting a decline in single-family starts for 2025. The Federal Reserve has made it clear through Governor Kugler's recent statements that policy rates will be held at the current level for some time, given core inflation still at 2.8%. Here's our analysis of timing, and this is crucial for anyone thinking about buying or investing in the next 12 to 18 months. If you're waiting for mortgage rates to fall significantly, you might be waiting years, but while you're waiting for perfect conditions, builders are getting increasingly desperate to move inventory. The opportunity cost calculation you need to make is this: a 10% incentive package on a $400,000 home is $40,000 in immediate equity. Even if rates stay high, you're potentially getting a deal that won't be available when the market normalizes. According to Norada Real Estate's 2026 forecast, most economists expect home price growth of 2 to 4% nationally next year, but with massive regional variations. The South and Southwest could see actual price declines in some metros, while the Northeast and select Midwest markets could see continued appreciation. Sales volume is expected to increase 6 to 10% if rates moderate, according to Bankrate's housing predictions, but we're still looking at transaction levels 25% below pre-pandemic norms. The key insight that most people are missing is that we're not heading for a 2008-style crash because the fundamental structure is different. But we are heading for a prolonged period of regional divergence, where smart money flows to markets with strong fundamentals while speculative markets continue to correct. For investors, this means becoming much more selective about markets and much more aggressive about capitalizing on builder incentives and regional opportunities. For potential home buyers, it means understanding that perfect timing is less important than finding good value in the right location with manageable long-term costs. The builder's warnings aren't about an imminent crash. They're about a market that's fundamentally repricing itself after years of unsustainable growth. The U.S. Census Bureau's latest new home sales data shows we're already in a deep freeze, with sales down significantly from peak levels. Nationally, new home sales dropped 11.3% in the most recent quarter, but some markets are seeing devastating declines. North Carolina, once a relocation darling, saw new home sales fall 21% year over year in the Charlotte metro and 17% in Raleigh-Durham. Even historically stable markets like Atlanta recorded a 13% decline in new home sales, while Nashville dropped 16% as builders flood the market with inventory that can't move. The smart money is already moving to take advantage of this transition. Major builders are implementing aggressive strategies not because they want to, but because they have to. The question isn't whether this correction will continue. The data makes that clear. The question is whether you'll be positioned to benefit from the opportunities or caught off guard by the continued correction in overheated markets. Understanding these patterns and having access to real-time data from authoritative sources like the Census Bureau, Federal Reserve, and industry associations gives you the ability to make informed decisions while others react emotionally to headlines. The builders have given us the warning. The data confirms the trends. Now, it's up to individual investors and buyers to position themselves accordingly. If you found this video interesting, please subscribe, share, and watch this one as well.